have to give her a name. Okay. Sapphire, because that's what came into my gut when I looked in her face that isn't a face, but you know what I mean.
She has a bell too.
You know, when in the Polar Express, when the kids can hear the bells, but the adults can't because it means that you've lost belief in Father Christmas. That always made me so sad.
So you can hear.
But I can hear the bell. I can hear the bell, yeah. And every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. It's Wonderful Life. Yeah. My name is Aimee Lou Wood. The project we're talking about today is White Lotus. White Lotus came into my life when it first came out and I became obsessed with it. For so long, I was trying to work out where I would fit in this world. I watched the first 2 seasons and I wanted nothing more than to work with Mike, but I just didn't know where I'd fit. And then Chelsea came to me in an email and I read the audition scenes and I thought, this is my way in. The first scene I got sent was the one where she's saying to Rick that he needs to get a facial because people are thinking that he's her dad. And I had this very kind of different idea of who Chelsea and Rick were from that one scene, because she mentioned his money quite a lot originally, which then Mike took all that out because he wanted it to be a proper love story. And then the second scene was when she says, I think we're going to be together forever, don't you? And he says, that's the plan. And she says, is it? And my gut went, oh, she dies. She dies. I just knew she died. Because of course, Mike's going to create a love story with a really hopeful character and kill her. He has to kill hope. I'm fixated on astrology, just like Chelsea. In every conversation, I have to bring it back to astrology at some point. And Mike's version of that is the Enneagram. But the thing that happened on set was everyone wanted to have the right number, like the one that Mike liked the most. And I was like, guys, there's no right number. It's just who you are. And everyone became really paranoid about, I'm a 7, is that good? I'm a 2, is that okay? He would tease us about it, where you just thought, oh no, he doesn't like 2s. Oh no.
And what are you?
I can't remember what I got because I did 2 tests. I did one as Chelsea and one as me. And I can't remember which one was which. The first one that I got, Mike was like, ooh, do it again, I think. And then I did it again. He was like, yeah, that's right. He was kind of making everyone feel a bit paranoid about their personality types, but that's just who he is. He's just mischievous.
Were you a theatrical child?
I was a deeply shy child. My favorite activity was getting out my dictionary and putting each word into a sentence. That was my idea of fun. But I did do a lot of characters and stories and funny voices for my mum. She would kind of be the only one that would see that, and everyone else saw this very quiet, shy, in my own world, very spaced out, constantly reading. And then acting came about because my English teacher, Mrs. Petrie, who was my favourite person who I used to sit with at lunchtimes, and I would read her stories that I'd written and I would act out the stories. And she said, if I replaced one of our English classes with a drama class, would you get up and do one of these characters? And I was like, Mrs. Petrie, no, never. That I can't. She went, I think it would be a really good way for you to connect with other kids and make friends. And she did it. That Friday I came in and she said, okay, everyone, we're doing a drama class today. And she looked at me and I was like this tiny girl with the biggest teeth you've ever seen, because they were the same teeth, but on a tiny person. No one had even heard me speak in this class. In my head, I remember it as everyone being like, oh, she speaks. And then I got up and I did like a Santa Claus character, but like a really macho Santa Claus who was stuck up the chimney, and everyone was laughing. And then after that, I became the class clown and had lots of invites to parties. And so it was kind of a survival thing, the acting.
So is it hard to act when you're practically naked? You act a lot practically naked in Sex Education.
I know, don't I? It's really funny because I remember reading the script, and I mean, it's Sex Education. There was a lot of sex in it and a lot of embarrassing stuff in it. And what I never realized was that when I now look back on it, yes, there was lots of sex, but I actually find the intimacy stuff less scary than just wearing a bikini, because those scenes are always character driven and it's about the story than just like, I'm going to have to be around a pool in a bikini. That was the thing that really was driving me mad. I was like, oh my God, I've got it. I've got the job. Came out, celebrated with my friends, was screaming, like spinning around, and then instantly went, I've got to wear a bikini. It was honestly that quick. Because it's scary.
Who did you have a crush on growing up?
Tim Curry from Rocky Horror. That was defining for me when I first watched Rocky Horror. And then also him in Annie, you know, when he sings, Easy Street. I just had the biggest crush on him. I thought he was the coolest person ever. So he was a big one. I just wanted so desperately to be in Rocky Horror. I just loved how weird it was. Oh my God, my first kiss. Well, actually, I had a boyfriend in nursery. So when I was like 3 years old, I had a boyfriend called Adam. And we went to see Sesame Street Live together. And they would separate us when we were having story time because we would kiss the whole time. It was at nursery. But then the one that I can remember, it was outside a really disgusting pub in Manchester. I actually threw up into a McDonald's cup the same night. It was very drunken teenage times.
Did you know the person well?
I did. And I also pretended it wasn't my first kiss. I was like, no, this is not first for me. I'm rock and roll. I'm cool girl. Was not. So yeah, it was an overwhelming night.
Do you have any fashion moments that you have deep regrets about in your life?
Loads. Loads. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink. And I tried to recreate those outfits. I tried to look like her, but it just didn't work. I look back at those and I think, oh God, oh bless you. But you know what also? Love that you tried.
Yeah.
And love that it was Molly Ringwald and you weren't conforming to what all the other girls were wearing. I think for a while, after Sex Education, the character's the same name as me. It was the first thing that people kind of knew me in, that I think there was like a blur of Aimees going on. And so a lot of people saw me and I think dressed me how they would think Aimee Gibbs would want to dress. And so I felt for a long time like I didn't feel like myself on red carpets. I would always feel like this isn't me. Felt like the clothes were wearing me, I wasn't wearing the clothes for a long time. My pet peeve. When taxi drivers ask me for directions of what I go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm in a taxi. I don't know. And also the big one is inauthenticity. I'm like, subtext makes me really nervous. I would rather someone just be really direct and you know, I just, when I can sense that there's something going on underneath the smile, you know, like the passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think that stuff really scares me.
Do you have a favorite reality show?
There's 2 shows in the UK called I Kissed a Girl and I Kissed a Boy, and they are so brilliant. It's like Love Island, but gay, and the first thing that the people have to do is kiss each other. And they get partnered up. So there's a girls one and there's a boys one. So they walk in, and some people just go like, you know, give a peck, and others, it's straight away like this mad chemistry. And then they have to, you know, stay in the villa, and there's so much drama. But what I love about that show, because I'm not a Love Island person, I'm not into it, is that show, it gets really like deep, because the stories and the conversations that are had are actually really profound. So you've got all the fun and entertainment of the reality show format, but actually the heart of it is a lot deeper.
And is there anyone in particular that made you starstruck?
I had a meeting with Steve McQueen and I was so excited because I had all these clever things to say about his movies and why I love them so much. I had all these poetic things to say. And he opened the door and I just burst into tears. And I didn't stop crying for like 30 minutes. And then we actually had to end the meeting because I was just crying. He was like, what's going on here? He was so kind, but he was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. And then he'd be like, any brothers and sisters, you know, to try and relax me. And I'd be like, I've got a sister. And I'd just start crying again.